Hello, 6th grade. This is Mrs. Froman, and we're going to be taking notes on Environmental Science, Chapter 2, Section 3. That's on Biogeography. And as you can see here, biogeography is the study of where organisms live. One factor that affects where species live is the motion of the Earth's continents. So believe it or not, the land that we're on right now is actually moving. Every bit of land, it's broken up into plates. If you think of the Earth's crust kind of like a hard-boiled egg that's had you dropped on the floor and it has a bunch of cracks in it. So the crust itself is pretty thin, like the shell of an egg, and underneath that is all of this magma, which is liquid rock, lava basically. So the lava will come out at volcanoes, but it's underneath every single bit of the Earth's crust. So it's a very thick liquid. So the plates of the continents float along there very slowly, and that's called continental drift. It's the very slow motion of the continents. So about 225 million years ago, all the continents were connected, and that big supercontinent was called Pangaea. As time went on and the continents started to break apart and float away from each other, they formed different countries. And you can kind of see, here's South America, here's Africa, and it's kind of like the pieces of a puzzle. So the slow movement over millions of years led to unique species around the world. So when these broke apart, so South America and Africa at one time were connected, but when they broke apart, their climates changed a little bit, so the animals that lived there had to have different adaptations, so that led to different species. Dispersal is the movement of organisms from one place to another. So a lot of times the easiest way to think about this is with plants. So wind and water helps distribute seeds and light objects or things that float. So like coconuts would float and they go in the ocean and end up on different islands. And the wind, think about dandelions, milkweed pods. They have the little, almost like a little parachute on them, and they float away. So they get far away from the parent plant, so then they can start a new life. So they're not right next to the original parent. Other living things can also disperse seeds or small organisms, especially humans. Well, think about small organisms, like if you get a tick, you're taking that from one place to another. If you get burrs on your shoes or your pants, those are being moved around, those seeds are being dispersed. Then in each ecosystem we have native species, and those are the species that have naturally evolved in that area. So if they've always been there, they evolved there, that's the native species. An exotic species would be an organism that has been introduced to a new area. So that's something like, well, for instance, dandelions have been introduced by humans a long time ago. So they've spread all over the United States. They didn't actually evolve here, they were brought here by people. 3 factors that limit dispersal are physical barriers, like water, mountains, and deserts. So if you're a little dandelion seed, it's going to be really hard to get across a big lake or mountains or a really big desert. So if you land in that desert, you're not going to be able to live probably if you're a little dandelion seed. Then we have competition. If there's already an existing species that lives there and they're very successful, if a new species comes in, they may not be able to find a place to live. They may not be able to survive there because the existing species is so strong. And then there's climate. The typical weather pattern over a long period of time may limit what species can survive there. So we see this happening actually right now. As global warming starts happening, our winters are getting a little more mild in the United States. So if you think of like the armadillo, they usually live in places like Texas and Florida. They really like warm places. But with the global warming, we actually have armadillos in southern Illinois now because they can survive the more mild winters that we have here. So we may be seeing more of that type of thing happening as climate changes. All right, so that is it for your biogeography notes. Don't forget to do your quack, and we will see you next time. Bye.